Hello, people of YouTube. This is Gray's Guitars, and thank you for watching. I am Steve Gray. Today, I was kind of pondering, what do I want to do for a guitar video? And then I was kind of thinking about what I really wanted to do to the guitars I currently own. Because the guitar market is still pretty bad. The prices are still pretty expensive. I have not bought a new guitar, or a used guitar, whatever you want to call it, new guitar to me, in a very long time because I haven't been able to find a decent deal on anything. So I was like, well, maybe what about modding some of my guitars? Further modding them than they are already modded. And today I decided we're going to talk about mods, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, and what you should do if you plan to sell that guitar in the future. So for starters, we're going to take a look at a guitar that is already kind of modded. This is my Squier Stratocaster. A lot of people have these. Something that is very easy to do that'll make the guitar sound better is buy a new pickups. Most Squier pickups, very few Squiers that I played have actually sounded, excellent. I want to keep the electronics fresh out of the box. This was a preloaded $30 pickguard from eBay. Sounds fantastic. They are Seymour Duncan and Vader knockoffs. No, they are not wax potted. That is something we're going to talk about momentarily too. But for $30, an upgrade, and you don't even have to do soldering. You can actually buy connectors that will connect to an input jack. That's really the only thing you have to do. And obviously you got to solder a ground wire, but at the same time you don't even have to do that. Technically you can just ground that off with a screw and a piece of metal somewhere. So even if you don't have any soldering skills, you don't want to get into soldering whatsoever, you have the ability to install a new pickguard. Yes, you got to take off all the strings, undo all the screws. Some of the screw holes won't line up. But even if you don't have a drill, yeah, you can kind of force it in there. It might be a little crooked, a little sideways, but at the end of the day, it's a cheaper guitar. Who really cares if it's a little bit messed up? It's not the end of the world. Now, moving on to electronics. If you do decide you can upgrade the electronics, I'm talking about the switch, the pots, wires can even be upgraded if you want to go that far into it. But you don't necessarily have to do that if you don't want to. You can just buy a new set of pickups, leave your wiring control alone, that's up to you, and just wire the pickups up, and it'll sound pretty decent. But definitely if you upgrade the pots, though, the guitar can sound better. That's the next thing that I think I'm going to do to this guitar, is I think we're going to get rid of all the cheap Chinese pots, get rid of the cheap Chinese switch, leave this switch. This is my series parallel switch, leave that in there. Maybe upgrade the pickguard, because you can definitely throw a different color pickguard on there, because maybe a black or white for this guitar, because this pickguard does not go with this guitar. That is my one complaint. I wanted the pickups, but the pickguard I didn't have a choice with when I was buying from eBay. These particular pickups come with this pickguard only, and there's nothing you can really do about it. Another cheap upgrade that is good to do is just upgrade your input jack by itself. Also part of the electronics. Never hurts to buy a Switchcraft, excellent brand. There's plenty of other decent brands out there too. I think CTS makes their own things along those lines. Nothing hurts to upgrade switch pots and Switchcraft jacks, things along those lines. Easy mod as well. Strap locks. So a lot of people don't like the straps that come with their guitar. They complain the strap falls off a lot. You can buy strap locks for the guitar. Fairly simple mod. Many different types. There's cheap versions, there's expensive versions. Some you can just buy like a little rubber washer if you want to do that as well. But there are plenty of options to upgrade your strap buttons, and with strap locks or other just better strap buttons, and it's fairly inexpensive. Moving on from that, what I would recommend on a lot of Squiers is upgrade the bridge if possible. Guitar Fetish offers an import style bridge. I believe it's about 30-40 bucks, somewhere around there. Real brass blocks, real steel, excellent upgrade. That's something I thought about doing to this guitar as well, is upgrading the bridge. Now, if it stays in tune and it sounds the way you want it to, leave it alone. It's okay to leave the guitar alone, leave the bridge alone, leave the nut and tuners alone. If everything plays to your liking, it's not buzzing anywhere, sometimes you just gotta not touch it. That's your best bet, is because sometimes if you start messing with things, it can actually make the guitar play a lot worse, and then you are not going to be a happy camper, unfortunately. Moving on to other things, you can also upgrade the nut. A lot of these cheaper guitars, the nut, sometimes it's cut fine, sometimes it's not. You can buy pre-cut nuts, pre-sized too, so you don't actually have to do anything. All you really have to do is get a small screwdriver and a hammer to tap that out of there. Usually there's only maybe a dab of glue on them. And get rid of your cheap plastic nut. You can upgrade it to brass, Graphtec, bone, whatever the heck you want to do in order to make the guitar sound better. So that is also a fairly cheap upgrade. A guitar nut is only going to cost you a couple bucks. Keep in mind that particular one, if you are buying a nut that is not pre-cut, then you might want to have a professional take care of that and make sure that the nut is specific to your guitar. Because if you buy like a Strat neck, or if you buy a Squier neck, there might be slight differences where the nut and the string spacing isn't going to completely line up, and you may have your low E string hanging off the side of your fretboard, which would not be good. Another cheap upgrade, especially for older Squiers, are string trees. Roller string trees are now kind of the choice. They are excellent for, not snagging. A lot of people complain this style of string tree, that's more for your Strat style guitars. They get stuck. That's where the string breaks all the time. Now you can easily get a piece of sandpaper and just file them down if there's like a particularly sharp edge. That's another option as well to slightly modify the guitar, but string trees are cheap enough where they're a couple bucks. I think you can get a pair off of eBay from China for like $3. You get like 2 or 4 of them, and there you go. It's good for a couple of guitars. Moving up the headstock even farther, this also is going to depend on the guitar you're buying. Tuners. Now these are just cheapy knockoff of Schaller tuners. Nothing special about them, except they are perfectly fine. They hold the guitar in tune. There is nothing inherently wrong with them, and they work. On this particular guitar, if it's something where you're constantly having tuning issues, usually it's most of the time it's not the tuners. I hate to tell you that, but it's not. Usually it's something with the nut or something with the bridge. Especially if you have a tremolo on the guitar like this one with springs in the back, that's usually your big indicator. Something going on there. But tuning stability, if you want to get some locking tuners, there are so many different types of tuners out there. Grovers are great, Spurzels. I'm trying to think of a Hip Shot has good tuners as well if you want to do name brand. Goto has decent tuners. You can even get off-brand Chinese ones. I don't know how good the quality is going to be. I know Guitar Fetish offers some cheap locking tuners. So if you want to just do like a cheap upgrade, to keep the guitar on more the budget-friendly level, like that I want to do for this particular model, that is something I might do. Right now, I think the tuners on this particular guitar would be the last thing I would upgrade. The next thing I would do is for this guitar, because I do kind of want to upgrade it, is probably a brass nut, redo the electronics with some CTS pots, and then possibly replace the bridge. And then the last thing you can do, that is also up to you. I have never personally done it. I'm going to try it on this guitar, is wax pot your pickups. Most cheaper guitars, they do not wax pot the pickups. What that does is it just kind of tightens everything up. All the wires, kind of glues them together more to a certain extent. Going to have less vibrations, and generally it sounds better when you have a wax potted pickup. That is something you can do. I think it's called paraffin wax. Certain candle wax might be fine too. That's something you would need to research into more. And all you really need to do for that is warm it up. You don't want to boil it, just warm it up. Put your pickup in there until the bubbles stop. Maybe do it like 3 or 4 times. I think that's around the exact amount that Seymour Duncan does. I think they dip it in there like 2 or 3 times. Make sure there's no more bubbles coming out. That means that the wax has gotten into every nook and cranny, and you're good to go. So that's a cheap upgrade too. Wax is fairly inexpensive. Now you can go all out if you want to spend a crap ton of money on really nice pickups, really nice bridge, really nice electronics, really nice nut tuners, everything. Then that is ultimately up to you. But I'm just saying these are minor things that you can do to make your guitar sound a lot better. Now moving on to a different style of guitar that we're going to be talking about, a Les Paul. It's pretty much same upgrades go for this. One of the downfalls to a Les Paul is bridge collapse is a thing over time. Unfortunately, what will happen is the two middle pieces will shrink down. You'll get a curve like that, and then you will have to replace the bridge. It is just a design flaw of the guitar. Usually it only happens with heavier strings. I don't seem to have this issue. I think my issue is the nut, because this also has a cheapy plastic nut. And I'm getting buzzing. Actually, you can't even hear it when I'm doing it with my fingers. Let me grab a pick here real quick. There you go. And just getting some buzzing. So this might actually need some fret work. That is a possibility. Because the action, I think, is about 2.25. And yeah. But this one, I'm thinking about upgrading the bridge, upgrading the nut, and electronics for this too are all still original minus the pickups. All I did was swap the pickups, left the pots, switches, everything the same. So that might be my next trip if I decide to upgrade this one more. Electronics, bridge, and nut. Now, what I said about tuners is you don't need to always upgrade them. This one comes with Grover tuners. Grover tuners generally are really nice. They have excellent tuning stability. They are on the heavier side. So if you want to lose some weight, that I would say that would be a good option, is to get rid of the Grovers if you're trying to make the guitar a little bit lighter, because Grovers are heavy. They are a hefty, durable tuner. They last for a very, very long time. Highly recommend them. Had no problems. I would not touch these. I mean, on this particular guitar, there's no issues with them. As I said, bridge, nut, that's where your buzzing comes from. Frets is the last thing you would do. On a cheap guitar, I really wouldn't recommend it, because 9 out of 10, you got the guitar for $200 or $300, and to my knowledge, in my local shops, if you get a level and crown of the entire fretboard, not just a couple of frets, you're looking at minimum $150, and that can be the price of the guitar half the time. So that is not always worth it. The last thing that you want to remember is keep your old parts. This is an old Floyd Rose off of a PV that I've used in the past that I still have. The reason I say keep your old parts is because if you mod the crap out of the guitar, 9 out of 10, it's going to be a long time before you ever sell it. But if you do sell it, if you do decide to sell that modded guitar, then the value isn't really going to change all that much because you modded it. And that's just the way it is. No one is going to pay more than retail for that guitar, no matter how much you modded it, unless it's something like a Gibson or a limited edition USA guitar. This is more for your cheaper import guitars, your Epiphone, your Squier, things along those lines. So for instance, we'll say that you buy a $200 Squier guitar and you do all of the upgrades to it. You put $100 worth of parts. You're not getting that $100 back. When you go to sell it, you're probably not even going to get $200 for that guitar. You're probably looking at $150 on a good day. So the reason I tell you to keep all of your parts and keep them organized is because you can always put everything back to the way it was. So when you want to sell that guitar, you will make more money from putting everything back the way it was and then selling those tuners off individually, selling that nut off individually, selling those pickups, strap locks, things along those lines. So just put the guitar back to the way it was before you sell it, and you'll be good to go. So let me know what you think I should do for my guitars, modding them. Let me know what you have done for your guitars, modding them. I'm going to leave it at this. Video has been going a little bit longer than I wanted it to, but I had a little bit more I wanted to say on this particular video. This is Gray's Guitars. I am Steve Gray. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, leave a like, and feel free to comment down below what you want to see for future guitar and music related videos. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a good one.